Uko salama?
Asante sana.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Karibu.
Yep.
Welcome to Sema the Spox Bonga da Gava. This is a podcast that is being carried live on KBC Digital and also on all our socials and other media stations. Maybe you can begin by telling us your name, who you are, where you come from, and all of that.
Thank you very much, Bwana Government Spokesman, Senator Mwaura, and thank you for hosting me. Kwa majina, munite Justus Wabuyabo, nikiwa mzaliwa wa nchi yetu ya Kenya, kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega. Mimi ni mwanasheria, nimesomea sheria, I'm a lawyer by training, na nilianza kusoma katika shule ya Mumias Boys Primary School. Baadaye nikajiunga na chuo cha Starehe Boys Center, ambayo nilifaulu. Lakini hapo mwanzo lazima nikueleze kwamba mimi I started life as a herds boy, nikichunga ng'ombe za...
Ati ulikuwa unachunga ng'ombe? Wewe mwenye mavazi suti kama ya Charles Jojo hii.
Yes, I started life as a herds boy.
Ngoja kidogo wewe Wabuyabo.
Yes.
Wewe huko kwenu Vihiga kuna ng'ombe kweli?
Mumias.
Mumias?
Yes.
Ni Mumias eh?
Mumias.
Sio Vihiga.
Sio Vihiga.
Watu wa Vihiga tulikuwa tukiulizana na wao. Whether hiyo Vihiga inamaanisha mahiga. Wakikuyu mnajua mahiga ni nini eh? Kama ni mawe makubwa hapo. Sasa wewe you were a herds boy.
Yes, I was a herds boy.
So at what point did you go to school? At what age?
I went to school at the age of 7.
Oh yeah. That's now standard 1.
Standard 1.
That's the year 1900?
1980.
Wewe ulikuwa umezaliwa 1980 ama tunateke tu hapa.
So 1980 nikawa nimeanza shule.
Kwa wewe ni generation X.
Hizo generation sijui lakini
generation X ndio yenu, alafu Y ndio millennial, alafu Z ndio nyingine, alafu alpha.
Okay.
Hapo.
Yeah. So nikamaliza primary school Mumias Boys, alafu nikajiunga na chuo kikuu cha Starehe Boys.
Oh, Starehe. You must be a very brilliant man. During wakati wa Griffin.
Wakati wa Griffin.
Wow. Let's clap for him. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. Wewe piga makofi, wacha wivu. Namna gani wewe?
Yeah. And as I've said, I started off as a herds boy, and that really tells you kwamba kimaisha, if you work hard,
yes,
everything is possible.
Wow.
Work hard and discipline, everything is possible. Nikawa Starehe Boys, nikasoma kwa bidii. Baadaye nikaweza kwenda kwa Moi University.
Moi University.
Yeah, nikasomea.
Na huko Moi University ulisomea nini?
Moi University nilisomea sheria. We were the first pioneer class kusomea sheria. Na katika hiyo class tulikuwa na vigogo kama Deputy President.
Ati nini?
Yes.
Mulisoma na our DP?
Yes.
Kithure Kindiki?
Kithure Kindiki was my classmate.
In the law school?
In the law school. Tukakuwa
ngoja kidogo, alikuwaje hiyo wakati? Wewe tuambie, wewe sasa ndio umeleta hiyo listo. Kwa hiyo lazima tuelezee alikuwaje?
Deputy President has always been the same man, a very disciplined man, a God-fearing man.
Alikuwa ameokoka eh?
Alikuwa ameokoka.
Alikuwa anahubiria?
Alikuwa anatuhubiria, lakini pia alikuwa msomi sana.
Okay.
Very, very focused with the studies.
Okay. Kuna picha tuliona yake kitambo, akiwa amevaa zile nguo zile za hizo siku na Biblia kubwa. So sijui kama wewe alikuhubiria ukaokoka ama ilikuwa namna gani?
Mimi niliokoka mapema.
Okay.
Niliokoka nikiwa high school.
Vizuri kusikia hiyo.
Yeah, kwa hivyo wakati tunapatana mimi nilikuwa tayari nishampatana na Mwokozi. Kwa hivyo lakini pia bado nilihubiria.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us now, Mr. Wabuyabo, after Moi University, where did you go to?
After Moi University, nilianza ile mambo tunaita pupillage. Wakati huo tulikuwa tunaenda School of Law compulsory. Kulikuwa na ile kitu tunaitwa exemption. Kwa hivyo sisi wale tulikuwa tumesomea hapa Kenya na tulikuwa tumefanya courses zote ambazo zinahitajika, tulikuwa tunapewa ile kitu tunaitwa exemption.
So that way you didn't go for another postgraduate diploma? You go straight to
you do the postgraduate diploma,
yes,
but by way of exemption, because you've done the courses already at the university.
Okay.
Wale wakati wetu wale walikuwa wanasomea nje ndio walikuwa lazimika kwenda Kenya School of Law.
So now
lakini sasa zilikuwa nafanya pupillage for 1 year.
For only 1 year.
Yes.
So after kumaliza sasa, did you go to practice?
Yes, I finished and I did I did some legal practice very briefly with the firm of Lachonia and Lachonia Advocates. But because I have a heart of public service,
Yes.
I joined Kenya Railway at a very young age. Within 1 year, I was in 2001. I'd been employed at Kenya Railways Corporation as a legal officer.
Okay, then you rose through the ranks.
No, I worked at Kenya Railways for about 2 years.
Okay.
Then I went back to private practice for another 3 years.
Okay.
Then I was employed as a regional legal advisor for International Federation of Red Cross,
Wow.
where I used to cover the 14 countries in the East African region
Yes.
and the Indian Ocean Islands.
So you come from the private sector to government,
Yeah.
back to private sector, and then you go to the NGO sector now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was,
That's a serious shift, isn't it?
yes, and that is just me. I like dynamism. I was there for a while, and then I felt like I wanted to give back some of the knowledge that I acquired.
Yes.
So I went and did my master's
Okay.
and opted to go to teaching.
Wonderful. So you did your master's again at the University of
I
Nairobi?
went
Where?
at the University of Nairobi. I did my
Wonderful.
master's.
Yeah.
Then I went to teach at Kenya School of Law.
Oh, wonderful.
And I have very many of my students already out in the market.
Okay.
Some of them are even now my employers. On my board, I actually have 2 of my former students on my board as directors. And my company secretary is actually also my former student.
Wonderful. You know what is very interesting about the legal profession? So the other day I was counting the people who have a law degree in cabinet. Do you know how many there are? 11. 11 cabinet secretaries have a law degree.
Yes.
So that says something about your profession.
Yes, and it's not unique to Kenya because look at the US, it's the same story. You will find most legislators
Presidents.
and presidents
Yes.
have a legal background.
Yeah.
Because the legal profession sets you up to understand governance and also the interactions of people. Because as you interact with the disputes that people face in life, you get to understand human interaction, and therefore you style yourself in a position to be able to address the issues that people get involved with every day.
Okay. So now let's move forward. How did you end up at the nuclear energy, NuPEA?
Yes, as I mentioned, after my stint at the academia, I taught at Kenya School of Law and also later on at Mount Kenya University. Then I felt my calling back to public service.
Yes.
Then I went to work for National Water and Harvesting Storage Authority
Okay.
and at Ministry of Water,
Okay.
where I was working as a General Manager, Corporate and Legal Services.
Okay.
I was there for about 9 years. But in between, when NuPEA, which before was known as Kenya Nuclear Electricity Board,
Yeah.
was created in 2012, before it had existed as a nuclear power and energy committee within the Ministry of Energy.
Yeah.
But in 2012, it was created as
a saga.
a saga.
Okay.
I was very interested because, again, they recruited a very prominent lawyer, the current governor of Chako,
as a CEO.
A CEO.
As a former minister for energy, now coming back to be a CEO of Paraceto.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I was very interested, and I remember at that time they were advertising.
By the way, Ochilo Ayako was my minister in Gender, Sports and Culture and Social Services.
Oh, great.
He appointed me to be serving the first board of the Disability Council when I was only 20 how many? Or 22 years old.
Yes.
Yes.
He's a very great gentleman. So I was very interested in nuclear, and just to mention that when I was in university, I was the best student in international law.
Wow. Makofi kwa the best students.
And we had interacted with nuclear issues, and I remember at that time there was the question of whether the usage of nuclear weapons was lawful.
Yes.
And one of the biggest cases that we are taught at the university is about there's a case which was taken to International Court of Justice for advisory opinion on whether any country should have nuclear weapons. And that is when I started learning about nuclear. But for a long time, it looked like nuclear was only available for weapons.
Yeah.
But later on, I came to learn that nuclear is applied in literally every aspect of our lives.
Tell us more about that.
Yes, nuclear technology is applicable in diagnosing and treating diseases. The
Interesting.
most notable is cancer.
Okay.
Nuclear technology is utilized to diagnose cancer and treat it. I'm sure you've heard of things like X-ray and radiotherapy and such other things. That is utilization of nuclear technology in medicine. Nuclear technology is utilized in agriculture in very many ways. The first way is that you can use nuclear technology to develop drought-resistant, disease-resistant, pest-resistant, and high-yielding crops. In this country currently, we have a professor in Eldoret University called Professor Miriam, who has developed a drought-resistant variety of wheat, and also which is resistant to wheat rust.
Okay.
And that will go a long way in guaranteeing food security in our country.
Okay.
Nuclear technology is also used in children who are malnourished to identify the kind of nutrients that they will require so that their health can be improved.
Okay.
Nuclear technology is also used in industry for non-destructive testing.
Okay.
If, for example, you want to check whether there's a defect in some object without having to tear it apart, you can use that technology. And many, many other utilizations. So nuclear technology is something that is
very useful.
But now, most importantly for our case
is
that nuclear is being used around the world to generate electricity.
Now, I remember when I was a student in England, I would only pay £1 for a whole month to have my electricity bill, which I found very, very, very cost effective. I think that's one of the cheapest ways to do power. Could you briefly walk us through why our country decided to actually explore this nuclear power, and how is it going to help us in our long-term development goals under Kenya Vision 2030 and beyond?
Thank you very much and for that question. I think the idea of having nuclear as part of our energy mix goes back to the tenure of the late President Mwai Kibaki, the NAC administration, which came up with Vision 2030. Of course, Vision 2030 had 3 important pillars. Relevant to us is the economic, which came up with Vision 2030. Had pillars is the economic pillar, and the vision was to move Kenya into a middle-income country, a country that is industrializing. And then the president had a council known as the National Economic and Social Council, which gave him this advice. But then the question was, how are we going to power these industries that we are talking about? And then they looked around and saw the sources of the country had. Of course, we were largely generating our electricity from hydro, and geothermal was also developing.
So let me ask you. So if we are to do power, so let me ask you. So if we are to do power, nuclear power, and NuPEA would help us here. And how much would we have? About 3.
Currently, we're about that tells us the energy that we have and how what we're going to require in the future and how we're going to generate it. So nuclear has been incorporated in that. And once you do that, we are then guided by an international body known as the International Atomic Energy Agency. International Atomic Energy Agency is a UN specialized agency, intergovernmental organization, which guides all the countries of the world on all issues regarding to nuclear. So IEA has developed a program which we call milestones. It's called a milestone approach, which has 3 stages. The first critical stage is the decision-making stage, where a country makes an informed decision to incorporate nuclear as part of its energy mix. And this is not a simple decision. You have to sit down as a country and ask yourself a number of questions. And when you answering those questions, there are specific issues that IEA requires you to answer to. One of them is what we call the national position Another one is the issue of procurement, financing and funding. And there are several categories of issues that you have to deal with, including safety and security and so forth. So that decision was made way back in 2010 during the Kibaki administration, when the country made an informed decision to go nuclear.
Oh, yeah.
After that, then there are preparatory activities that you have to deal with. Then you move on to the second stage. The second stage is really the planning stage, where you start now putting in the mechanisms of now preparing to construct the first nuclear plant.
CS Wabuyabo, let's pause there so that we take a break. We are in Sema na Spokes, Bonga na Gava. Sema hivyo, Sema na Spokes, Bonga na Gava. Let's hold it there until we come back. Bonga na Gava. Sema na Spox.
Bonga na Gava.
And today we have CS Justus Wabuyabo, who is the CEO of the Nuclear Power Corporation. And he is here, it's called NuPEA. He's a lawyer, he has an LLM from the University of Nairobi. And he was telling us about the AIEA and what they are able to do in terms of the milestones. So I think Kenya has been working on this program over a decade. What are the milestones that we have achieved? And when do we really expect to be in the short term?
Thank you very much. Kenya has attained a number of milestones in the nuclear program. First of all, we set up a strategic plan for the program, which we have been following carefully. We've been working on the area of the policy. We also carried out a number of activities like working with the parliament to set up the national regulator, which is the regulatory body that regulates nuclear issues. I normally call it the NEMA of nuclear, known as Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority. We have also carried